So good afternoon. What I'm going to, as the introduction went on, for how many of you is the word intrapreneur new? Just raise your hand. So you're all familiar with the word. Oh, there are quite a few who are finding it new. So let me give you the origins. Oops. I love technology. Sometimes it works. So let me see if I'm wired up. Yes, I am. So what are the challenges that led to coming up with this whole idea? I'm going to, this entire presentation is a three-part presentation. The first part is basically introducing you the background of what came to be the environment to bring about intrapreneurship. And then, of course, I'll define intrapreneurship. But the third part is what is the environment, or what are the critical success factors of an intrapreneurial organization. So if you look at the challenges that we have, organizations have been mandated with this whole idea of organizing around teams or assessing organizations or assessing enterprises as what we call living and breathing enterprises or intelligent organizations. So that has been a challenge. Why did intrapreneurship come into the situation? Take any company. At its startup phase, it will be very, very high on, within quotes, innovation. What we call the entrepreneurial business. Take Google, take Yahoo, take Facebook. Any organization in its inception, not just an IT company, any organization in its inception, it will be very high on innovation. That is when we call the organization an entrepreneurial organization. But as the organization grows, it gets into what we call a steady state. It becomes an established business. How do you bring back the entrepreneurial spirit into the organization? How do you bring back the energy into the organization? Because while the transition will provide the much needed stability, while the transition will provide the much needed what we call BAU, business as usual, you also need to have these changes or the entrepreneurial spirit that comes. As a result of this, we need to have, within an organization, we need to foster entrepreneurship, and that is what led to the term corporate entrepreneurship. I'm just giving you some etymology into this particular word. Norman Mackay, in The Economist, he was in somewhere in 1976, he predicted this whole idea of intrapreneurship, where he said that dynamic corporations of the future will try alternative ways of doing things in competition within themselves. And this was there further expounded in the Confederation of Intrapreneurs, which happened in 1982. If you look up the dictionary or if you look up Google, you will of course get Pinchot to be also credited around the same time with the word intrapreneur, what he called, or what this couple called, corporate, intra-corporate entrepreneur or the intrapreneur. Now, corporate entrepreneurship, again, somewhere in 1986, intrapreneurship is a way of finding new markets. Moss Cantor, also, if you read this book, When Elephants Learn, or When Giants Learn to Dance, that was also referred there. It formally got into the dictionary somewhere in 1992 as a word officially. In fact, I still remember in the late 80s, when I was sharing about intrapreneurship, many of my conference organizers would say, listen, there is a typo in your presentation. I said, no, there is no typo. It is intrapreneurship. And of course, the earlier company that I worked for, HCL Technologies, the chairman of the company, in 1982, he came out with this idea of intrapreneurship for breeding innovation in the company that he had at that point in time. Now, what is the impact? Again, for want of a definition, the definition that I like is an intrapreneurial organization is an entrepreneurial organization which is organized around teams that function around businesses that are nested together. So it's a large organization which has got smaller entities which are focusing primarily on intrapreneurship or focusing primarily on implementing the creative ideas that are coming in the organizations. Essentially, intrapreneurial organizations or intrapreneurs are dreamers who don't just dream, but who do. That's the big difference. And if you want to see the impact of intrapreneurs, the impact of intrapreneurs or impact of intrapreneurship, it has revitalized businesses, it has revitalized jobs. I'll give you some examples. 3M, for example, which if you see on their website itself, the other name for 3M they want to be preferred to be called by is innovation. And they've got a crazy HR rule. And that crazy HR rule is every manager in the organization must spend 15% of his or her time doing something that they are not supposed to be doing. Now, can you imagine? And at the end of the year, their performance appraisal will be conducted not on their established KRAs. That is, the question will not be asked, what did you achieve out of what you were supposed to do? The question that will be asked is, what did you achieve out of what you were not supposed to do? I mean, that's very interesting. I like that. And I like the philosophy that led to this particular rule. The philosophy that led to this particular rule is, if you have achieved anything out of your established KRAs, out of your stated KRAs, key result areas, or KPI, key performance indicators, the organization has provided the resources, the support systems, and the processes for you to function in that. And therefore, the entire credit is not to you. I hope you're getting that line of thinking. If you achieved something out of your established scope of work, you are not entirely to be credited. But on the other hand, if you achieved something out of what you were not supposed to do, that means you took the initiative on your own. You went and brought about the resources. You went and brought about the environment, or you created the environment conducive enough for you to put that idea to work and achieve. Classic example is Post-its, but if you look at the various innovations or the product that have come out from 3M, it is all arising out of this particular philosophy. Go further, and if you see IBM, if you read this book, Who Says Elephants Can't Dance, Louis Gesner, who actually revitalized the entire organization, he said, listen, one of the big things that he said was, let us ask our employees who we are. Let us ask our employees who we should be. Let us ask our employees who we should not be, rather than, deciding from the top. Typically, in organizations, the strategy is decided at the top and implemented downward. One of the employees, or one group of employees, they said, we should not be a PC company. We should not be, you remember in the late 80s and the early 90s, IBM was synonymous with PC. And suddenly in comes a suggestion that we should not be a PC manufacturing company. That idea later on went to be implemented, and they sold it off to Lenovo. And if you see that time when they did that sale, that was when their stock price went up. Because the people at the bottom end, the employees, not the managers, not the leadership, they are the people who are coming out with ideas. We need to empower them and take them forward. So if you actually see, as a result of that particular diversification, or a result of that particular decision, they were moving up the value chain, increased profitability, and developing this entrepreneurial spirit. So we have seen what intrapreneurship is. We have seen the impact that intrapreneurship can have on organizations. Now I want to get into the main part of my session, and that is, how do you develop an intrapreneurial culture? Because this is what everybody wants. Because whatever I shared before, you can get it from textbooks. And I'm going to share largely from my own experience in the last 20 years that I've been driving intrapreneurship in the various projects and the teams. How do you get this? So there are, first of all, 4 ingredients that are necessary for us to have an intrapreneurial culture, 5 ingredients. What are those 5 ingredients? The first one, and I'm sure this is what I call the Innovation 101 or the Intrapreneurship 101. You need to get idea people. Don't focus your entire energy on the organization at large. Focus on the people who are those bright, creative people. In fact, my definition of impact, on the side you can write down my equation, impact is equal to force divided by area. If you want to increase your impact, don't increase the force. Just reduce the area. And in exactly the same manner, in an organization, if you want to increase the impact, don't spread your efforts thin on all employees. Focus on a narrower section of the population, and that is the idea people. What do these idea people do? These idea people are people with creativity. They create an environment in which creativity is appreciated. That's the first ingredient. The second ingredient for you to develop innovation or entrepreneurship is get dreamers who do. Not just dreamers. I'll tell you, I'm a type A person. I'm a workaholic. I used to work for 12 hours and sleep for 12 hours. But I almost got fired because it was the same 12 hours. So you don't need people in that category. There are a lot of dreamers in any organization. We want not plain dreamers, we want dreamers who do. Their dreams will be so good or so bad that people will laugh at you when you hear that dream. But these are people who will say, listen, I want to put it into action. They turn these ideas into reality, not outside the organization, inside the organization. These are people who are loyal to the organization. That's the second ingredient. The third ingredient is, in addition to these individuals, you need to have an intrapreneurial team. These are volunteers who are recruited to the idea by a lead intrapreneur or by a lead dreamer or a lead idea person. Somebody comes out with an idea. And please don't go by hierarchy. It is not necessary that the head of a particular team be the head of the intrapreneurial team. Somebody who's got a bright idea, he or she can be made to be the leader, and then you can recruit volunteers into that particular team. Second last, you need to have a sponsor. And that sponsor will have to commit executive time. The sponsor will have to commit organization time. The sponsor will also have to commit the organization's resources and supporting the people's ideas, creating that compelling vision, and he or she should be the spokesperson for the rest of the organization. Otherwise, you'll find people doing something which is not there in their KRA, and suddenly the boss will come, what are you guys doing? This is not what you were supposed to do, and that's the killing of the idea. The final ingredient is a climate maker. Make sure that you celebrate failure or celebrate the achievements of these people, however small it is. The big disadvantage that is there is many entrepreneurial organizations tend to compare the intrapreneurial success with that of the entrepreneurial success. Meaning, a small team has come out with a small idea and they've had a small breakthrough. If that breakthrough is compared with the large breakthrough of the organization, obviously this team will not be in a position to really benchmark themselves. So learn to compare apples with apples, oranges with oranges. Let there be an environment. Now let me take you through further steps on how you can create an intrapreneurial organization. When you look at the organization people in 2 parameters. What are the 2 parameters? On the x-axis, look at the approach these people are putting towards any situation. They could be reactive people, or they could be proactive people, proactive in their approach. Also, look at the amount of effort these people put in any situation. Are they putting in incremental effort or are they putting in quantum effort? Based on this, 4 categories of employees come out. What are those 4 categories of employees? First, let us look at those employees who are reactive in their approach and incremental in their effort. These are the people who will put in effort only when somebody tells them to put in effort. And how much effort will they put in? Just enough to get the person who's yelling at them to stop yelling at them. All of us as married people, we have children, ask them to clean the room. When will they clean the room? When you tell them to clean the room. How much effort will they put in to clean the room? Enough to ward you off, rather than get the job done. And I have called these people problem solvers, but in an organization, I actually would call them something completely different. I would call them dead wood. Because an organization cannot tolerate people who will do work only when they are told to. Then there are these other category of employees who are proactive in their approach. Nobody needs to tell them, but they are incremental in their effort. They are process improvers. Let them be. Then the different category, people who are reactive in their approach, but quantum in their effort. They suddenly see the boss giving a big motivational speech, or they suddenly see a video on YouTube or my talk on TEDx or something like that, and say, wow, man, that's a great idea. Tomorrow I'm going to put all these ideas into work. Oof, man, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to do what it takes. And they'll rise up like a soda. I call them soda water evangelists. Psst, psst. They just die down. They are very good followers. They will work under a strong leader. But an intrapreneur is one who's proactive in their approach and quantum in their effort. Nobody needs to tell them. And when they put in effort, they will put in way beyond what anybody else would do. I'm going to skip this slide, the application. Then how do you encourage these people? Encourage these intrapreneurs to work in their comfort zone and courage zone in the 60-40 ratio. What is the 60-40 ratio? You have each one of our employees, everyone has got a comfort zone and a courage zone. What is the comfort zone? Things that you are comfortable in, the things that you are naturally qualified in, naturally gifted in, naturally talented in, naturally experienced in. Let the responsibilities be 60% in the comfort zone and 40% in the courage zone. The courage zone is where they need to stretch, where they need to really put in extra effort. It has to be in the 60-40 ratio. But this 60-40 ratio is not static. You need to revisit this once in every 18 to 36 months. Why? Because at the end of 18 or 36 months, whatever the period, what will happen to some of the activities in the courage zone? It will become comfort zone. When you stretch them, you will then get them on the edge. In fact, you will have to learn to get people who will be constantly dissatisfied with themselves. In fact, let me ask you a question. What is the opposite of satisfaction? No, the opposite of satisfaction is actually not dissatisfaction. The opposite of satisfaction is complacency. And that is what you need to breed in your organization. You need to get what I call, you can write it down, a PhD mentality. Our employees need to develop a positive and healthy dissatisfaction. My current chairman says you need to develop divine discontent. Go back to the US Book of Patents. Over 99% of the people who filed the patent out of a discovery because they were unhappy with something. They were displeased with something, but they were positive about it. So that's where this environment comes. And then, of course, you also need to rotate these people across 3 domains. Because if you don't, they will get into what I call an equilibrium status. Rotate them in locations, rotate them in the domain, rotate them in the function. That is where you will get what I call an intrapreneurial spirit, an innovative spirit. If the employees are staying in the same location, and research has shown that people in Asia, their career mobility is very much limited to within Asian countries. We do not want to move outside. But when you move outside, that is when you will see the courage zone kicking in. When you move outside your native function. For example, my native discipline or my basic discipline is computer science. I got my marketing and strategy as my postgraduate. But finally, I'm working in the hydrocarbon industry. I'm in the HR field. We need to learn to dabble in the courage zone in 3 areas. Courage zone from a location point of view, courage zone from a function point of view, and courage zone from a domain or business point of view. That's where the environment comes. Now, look at exactly the same thing in a different manner. Look at the business environment in 2 parameters. The business environment in terms of the challenge that particular environment gives you, and in terms of the support that particular environment gives you. Here again, there are 4 categories of environment. The first environment, which I would not recommend anybody to be in, is an environment that provides low challenge and low support. That is an apathetic environment. Strangely, there are some organizations which have got a large portion of their organization completely in this. No challenge at all. If they do their work, fine. If they don't do their work, no problem. No support at all. And there, I know whenever I share this in conferences, they say, well, this describes my department. Well, I don't know if you should get there. But then there is this other category of environment which is extremely challenging, very high challenge. But the organization does not have the support system. The organization does not have the processes, the technology, or what I call the PPT, people, process, and technology, to support those challenges. If you don't have that, if it is low, that is a stressful environment. Then again, go diametrically opposite to that environment where there is low challenge but very high support. And this is what I call a corporate office job. I'm sure there are some of us. Absolutely no challenge. You get all the budgets in the world, all the support in the world. You're right under the radar screen of the CEO. You got all the pamper. Not everybody, but most of us are in that category where it's a very highly pampered environment. Entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs come in an environment where there is very high challenge. That is what leads them to come out with these new ideas, to put them into work, but then there is an ecosystem that enables them to go forward. Again, look at how these employees are putting in their effort. Intrapreneurs are bred differently. So here I want to look at 2 parameters. On the x-axis, you look at the efforts that a particular individual is putting. On the y-axis, you look at the results or the kind of focus areas that they're having, KRA or KPI. If you look at this, again, break it up into same and different. So the effort could be same or different. The KRA could be same or different. Based on this, 4 categories of employees come. The first one are employees who are putting in the same effort in the same KRA. Well, they are the stagnant employees. Then there will be other employees who will be putting in the same amount of effort, but they'll be working on a different KRA or an enlarged KRA. Little bit of performance comes in there. But then there are some other people who say, listen, I don't want to increase my scope of work. I want to keep my scope of work the same. But what I want to do is, I want to increase my effort. Well, some amount of innovation can come there. Intrapreneurs are people who come in this particular space where they put in more effort in more than what their stated scope of work is. These are people, if you want, you can use another term. These are people who demonstrate boundaryless behavior. They do what it takes to get the job done, even though it is not there in their day-to-day scope. They are people who will go beyond the ordinary. These are people who will defy conventional logic. These are people who will be exactly opposite of the stagnant employees. Who are the stagnant employees? The stagnant employees are what I call cave dwellers. Why do I call them cave dwellers? Listen to the acronym, CAVE. They are constantly against virtually everything. And I'm sure you come across those people. You tell them, work hard. They'll say, why? Tell them, yeah, but hard work never killed anybody. No, I don't want to take a chance. What do you do with these guys? Take the other case. Come to work early. Why should I come to work early? Well, let me give you a proverb. The early bird caught the worm. But the worm got up early and got caught. These guys are constantly against virtually everything. You need to convert these negative cave dwellers into positive cave dwellers who also conform to the same acronym, CAVE, but these people are constantly adding value everywhere. These are the intrapreneurs, and they are the people who will shine above the ordinary. As they go up, how will they put in their effort? Well, the effort is going to be based on this grid. Those of you who have read the book Blue Ocean Strategy will know this ERRC grid, the eliminate, reduce, raise, and create grid. What do? I have added one particular component, and that is the gradation of these two grids. On the x-axis, you've got value from low to high. On the y-axis, you've got the cost or effort from low to high. These intrapreneurs, if you are one of them, you need to learn to focus on the left-hand top column first. That is, look at those things in your KRA, in your day-to-day activities, which is low in value but very high in cost or effort. Again, I want to give you a caveat. That which is low in value for you will be high in value for somebody else. Let everybody choose their own impact area. You need to look at that which is low in value for you and high in effort for you. Eliminate that. What is the best way of understanding which one this is? The best way of understanding this is whether you do it or don't, nobody notices in your day-to-day job. That means it is a low value and you are going through labor pains to get the job done. What's the point? Even after all that, nobody notices it. That means, as far as you are concerned, it is low in value and high in cost or effort. So what you will do is, you will delegate it to another person for whom it is high in value and possibly relatively lower in cost or effort. Then you come down to that which is low in value, but low also in cost or effort. And the book, Blue Ocean Strategy, constantly talks about the example of Southwest Airlines. In an airline industry, what is low in value and high in cost or effort of the various things that they give us? Food. I mean, look at it. Is it very valuable, that food that they give you there? Our national carrier, somebody asked me, how is the food and service? I said, man, you're asking me a chemistry question. Because the food is colorless, odorless, and tasteless. The service is hopeless and the people are shapeless. So you just don't have to get there. It's low in value. Nobody flies for the sake of food. So what did Southwest Airlines do? Eliminate that. Once you eliminate that, you then will create bandwidth to invest in more. And then you move into that which is high in value and also high in cost or effort. In an airline industry, on-time travel is very high in value, but it is also high in cost or effort. You can invest in that space because you have created bandwidth or headroom from that which is low in value and high in effort. You have eliminated that. That is what you can put in. And that's the reason why Southwest Airlines, for 40 years in a row, has not had any loss, because of their implementation of this intrapreneurial spirit that is there. And then, of course, that which is low in cost or effort, created. Again, in an airline industry, what is low in cost or effort but high in value? Customer service. Does it cost a lot to smile? You need to fly United to understand that. I've seen more warmth and friendliness on a vending machine than on some of their faces. Just smile. Look at employees who are in this quadrant who are able to create that value proposition. Having said that, I just want to come, because I've just got about 1 minute more. An intrapreneur is somebody who is a dreamer who does. Everybody can be one. Nobody can be left out. Only thing is focus your energy. Only thing is evaluate where you are. Only thing is choose where you should be. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. I've got 1 more minute. So I know that we are having a formal time for questions, but please remember my email ID. It's not a mistake there. It is gmail@anandpillai.in. That is my email. You can write to me and I will respond to you. That's my personal email. I mean, this is another example. Try to be different. You know, whether you like it or not, everybody is different. But the question is your difference making a difference to their value zone? And of course, you can follow me on Twitter, Anand __, not single underscore, __. I mean, there are different things. I mean, the reason why I got that was, I mean, there are so many Anand Pillais there. For the life of me, I'm wondering, man, how can there be another Anand Pillai? God does not repeat mistakes. So you have to be unique. Thank you.
All right, Anand, thank you so much.